Hello, my dear friends, how are you? All of us need to know one thing, and what that one thing is if we want to lead a good life, if at all we want to make a considerable progress, and if at all we want a peace of mind, then in that case, there are certain and several things which are needed. And above all, that is the self discipline, which is by far more important than any other quality, and it is more beneficial than any other human quality as well. So my dear friends and fellows, there is a self discipline, and there is then a mental discipline as well. Mental discipline is very important for all the people, and all the people having the mental discipline, they lead a very good life, and they achieve a lot indeed as well, in comparison to those people who are lacking the mental discipline. So, for all that reason, we have made it a topic of our discussion today, that how to develop the mental discipline. So, my dear friends and fellows, there are certain and several things to do in that context, and let's begin all that. The first thing which is needed here, that is define your objectives. Define your objectives. That is the first thing to do. If at all we want to develop the mental discipline, the first thing needed is that define your objectives. How can we define our objectives? Identify what you want to achieve through mental discipline. Identify what you want to achieve through mental discipline. So that is the point number one, as for setting the clear goals is concerned. Now the second point, that is make a plan. Making a plan, and it is break down your goals into the smaller manageable tasks. That is how we can make a plan. The third thing, it is the third thing, break down your goals into the smaller manageable tasks. The third point, as for the setting of clear goals is concerned, the third point mean write it down, record your goals, and plans. Record your goals and plans to increase the commitment. Record your goals and plans to increase the commitment. So the three of these points for the purpose of setting clear goals. The next item to be done, that is develop the self-awareness. It is the second thing to be done, that develop the self-awareness. How can I and you develop the self-awareness? Again, there are, my dear friends and fellows, there are 3 points here. The point number one is recognize your thoughts. Recognize your thoughts and become aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions as well. Become aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. And the second point is identify patterns. Identify patterns. How can I identify the patterns? By notice patterns of your procrastination. Noticing the patterns of procrastination and the distraction or the negative self-talk. So that second point is called identify the pattern. The third and the last point, as for developing the self-awareness is concerned, the third and the last point is label your emotions. Labeling of your emotions. Acknowledge and label your emotions. Acknowledge and label your emotions. And it is, by acknowledging and labeling your emotions to better manage them. It is the third point as for developing the self-awareness is concerned. Now let's move to the third item, and that is called practice mindfulness. How can I and you practice the mindfulness? Again, there are three ways to do that. The number one thing is meditate, and it is regular meditation helps develop focus. Regular meditation helps develop focus and calmness and self-awareness. So that is the point number one as for practicing the mindfulness is concerned. The point number two for the mindfulness is that is the focus on the present, and it is concentrate on the current moment. Concentrate on the current moment without dwelling in the past, without dwelling in the past, or without worrying about the future. It is, concentrate on the current moment and focus on the present. The point number three is that use mindfulness reminders, using the mindfulness reminders. And it is like, place reminders throughout your day to take a few deep breaths and to refocus as well. So that is, I think, it is the practice of mindfulness. And then earlier we talked about developing the self-awareness, and first of all we spoke about setting the clear goals. Now moving to the next segment, and that is the build mental endurance. Build mental endurance. How can I or you build the mental endurance? It can be done by the three simple ways. And the point number one here is start small. And start small. Begin with the short periods of focused work. Begin with the short periods of focused work, or the short periods of exercise as well, and gradually increase the duration. That is how we can build the mental endurance, by starting small. Number 2 point is practice consistency. Practicing consistency. How can we practice the consistency? It is establish a routine and stick to it. Establishing a routine and stick to it, even on the weekends and even on the days off. That is practice consistency by establishing the routine. The point number 3 here is that celebrate milestones. Celebrating the milestones. How can it be done, by the way? Reward yourself for reaching small goals. Reward yourself for reaching small goals, to review, to reinforce motivation. That is celebrating the milestone. Reward yourself for reaching small goals, to reinforce the motivation. So that is the practice of consistency. So my dear friends and follows, moving to the next segment, and it is called overcome distractions. Overcome distractions. How can we overcome the distractions? It is eliminate multitasking. That is the point number one. And focus on the single task, to avoid divided attention. It is eliminating the multitasking. Now the second point is use the Pomodoro technique, and it is like work in 25 minutes increments. Work in the focused 25 increments, followed by the 5 minutes of break. And it is called, using the Pomodoro technique. The third point, my dear friends and fellows, it is the removal of temptation. Remove the temptation. How can it be done, by the way? Turning off notifications, log out of social media, or remove, distracting applications on the smartphone. Now the next segment is cultivate positive self-talk. Cultivating positive self-talk, by notice negative self-talk. Notice the negative self-talk. Become aware of critical inner voices. Become aware of critical inner voices, number one. And number two, it is the challenging of negative thoughts. Challenging the negative thoughts. And it is like replace negative self-talk with the realistic positive affirmations. Replacing the negative self-talk with the realistic, with the positive affirmations. The point number three is practice self-compassion. How can I and you practice the self-compassion? Treat yourself with the kindness, with the understanding, and with the patience as well. So my dear friends and fellows, still moving to the next segment, which is called leverage accountability. How can we leverage the accountability? Find an accountability partner. Like, how can it be done? Share your goals and your progress as well with a trusted friend and with a trusted mentor as well. Number two, it is join a community. Joining a community. Connect with the like-minded individuals. Connecting with a like-minded individual who share your goals. And the third point, my dear friends and fellows, is that, so the third point here is that, track your progress. And it is use a journal, spreadsheet, or application to monitor your progress. Now, my dear friends and fellows, we are going to the moving to the next and the last segment. It is practice self-care. How can we practice the self-care? There are three simple ways. Number one, it is get enough sleep. Getting off enough sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep to help regulate your mind. Sleep for 7 to 9 hours. The second point is, as for the self-care is concerned, it is exercise regularly. And it is, physical activity improves focus, improves the mood and the mental resilience as well. The third and the last point, as for the self care is concerned, it is about eat balanced diet. Eating a balanced diet, focus. If it is like fuel your mind with nutrition, with the foods that support cognitive function. So, my dear friends and fellows, it is a highly important, highly beneficial topic indeed. Let's have a very quick revision indeed. And the first point we talked about it is set clear goals. By defining your objectives, by making a plan, by writing it down. This next segment was develop self awareness by recognizing your thoughts, by identifying the patterns, by labeling your emotions. The third segment was practice mindfulness, like number one, by meditation, by focus on the present, and by using mindfulness. And now, the next segment, moving to the next segment of our talk, it is building mental endurance by starting small, by by consistency, by celebrating the milestone, and still moving to the next segment, the fifth segment. It is overcome distractions by eliminating multitasking, by using the Pomodoro technique, by removing the temptation. And now the sixth segment of that mental discipline is called cultivate positive self-talk by noticing the negative self-talk, by challenging negative thoughts, by practicing self-compassion. And still the still the seventh still the seventh segment of today's talk is leverage accountability by finding an accountability partner, by joining a community, by tracking your progress. And now the eighth and the last segment of today's talk, it is practice self-care by getting enough sleep, by exercising regularly, by eating a balanced diet. So, my dear friends and fellows, please remember developing mental discipline is a gradual process that requires patience, that requires persistence, and that requires self compassion as well. Start with the small steps, and you will be on your way to cultivating a more disciplined mind. And having a disciplined mind, I think nothing is as good as this one, nothing is as beneficial as this one, nothing has such a bigger contribution in our good life, in our success, as that of the mental discipline. So that is all from me today. Thank you very much.